Happy Monday once again, everyone. Boys and girls, how you doing? Good to see you back here. We've got 3 nights and 3 streams. We've been up here Saturday, Sunday, and now Monday, immediately following Monday Night Raw. I've got one question for you guys. Why do the Street Profits hate Matt Hardy? Boy, they were out there right away in that main event, saving Kevin Owens' ass. Meanwhile, in the opening segment of the show, Matt Hardy gets murdered and nobody does a thing. Poor Matt. Anyway, how y'all doing? Let me make sure I can be seen and heard real quick. We've been up here Saturday, Sunday, and now Monday. How's my volume? It's not too low, is it? I've got one question for you guys. It sounds low to me. If I need to turn it up, just let me know. Anyway, what'd y'all think of tonight's Raw? I kind of asked you on Twitter a little bit. I think tonight was a so-so show. I think it opened up well. I like the opening segment. But overall, I feel like 2 weeks ago was a great Raw. Last week was not as good, and then this week was not as good as that. But let me know. Do you guys agree with that or no? Let me say hello to everybody in here in the chat already that's been waiting patiently for me to come up here. I knew it would be a few minutes after Raw. Had a few things going on tonight, so I'm like, oh, I got to get my notes together and get ready. So it's only 10 after, and we're up here now. So we'll talk about the show and then get out of here. Good to see you, Sam and Zane and Vash and Cody and Beetle and Garth. Gold Standard, what's up? Ross, how you doing? Sam, Stone Cold. All right, few people in here so far. Reese Jones, Sunny Man. All right, we'll have a good little stream here tonight, discuss Monday Night Raw. Now, this was the first Raw in a while that didn't have my 100% complete attention. Normally I'm here, I'm like live tweeting. I was around the house. Girlfriend was over tonight, so we were watching it. I was making notes on my phone, making notes over here, kind of casually watching, talking a lot, and tweeting here and there. So Raw didn't have my 100% attention, but based on my notes here, I think I got all the information down and understood everything that we saw. So I thought we had the potential to have a much better Raw than we did because they opened up with Randy Orton and Matt Hardy. And I want to talk about that first because one thing I liked about this is when they announced this match earlier on in the week, it got a lot of pushback from fans. I saw a ton of shit on Twitter. I kept my mouth shut about it because I didn't care. But the people that were criticizing the match, they had a valid point in that, Matt Hardy took that concerto. And because the segment was so well received by the audience, WWE wanted to stretch it out to another week, and put Matt in the ring now in a no-holds-barred match or whatever it was with Randy Orton. And a lot of fans were like, well, wait a minute. He took that vicious concerto. Randy Orton is this evil, vicious viper that will do anything to anybody. I think you almost diminish the importance of a one-man concerto if the guy comes back the very next week to wrestle. And granted, Edge is retired and everything, but that makes Edge look like a chump, too, that he's, like, gone and forgotten. And meanwhile, Matt Hardy is back in 1 week. So a lot of people were pissed that he's not selling the injury. But to me, that's just a waste of time to complain about. It's the way wrestling is now. So I didn't care. But that doesn't mean the point isn't valid. It very much is. He should have been selling that a little bit more. So when Randy Orton came out to the ring, I was like, oh, shit, we're going to get this match right away. Good for Matt. He can get killed, and then he can leave and get out of the building early and go on to AEW or whatever he's going to do. And we wish Matt the best. We'll talk about him, too, in a minute. So Randy Orton comes out first, gets on the mic, and says that the match that was advertised is not going to happen because Matt Hardy is struggling to get cleared by the doctors backstage, which completely makes sense, but, why did they announce the match on TV? So it just goes to show you how WWE is really flying by the seat of their pants, and a decision is being made. They don't think it through. They advertise it. Then they realize, oh, shit, well, maybe that doesn't make much sense. And then they change it. And, if they knew this, then they wouldn't have kind of booked a match. They would have been like, pending doctors clearing Matt Hardy, then this match will take place, or push it one more week. Have it next Monday. But they kind of wanted to capitalize on this right away. So I think they did a nice little pivot here and were able to give us something that, number one, wasn't advertised, but more than made up for it because they gave us the angle that we were expecting to see anyway. Most of us were believing that this was going to be a final write-off for Matt Hardy. I think last week was intended to be, and then they decided to exploit it a little bit further. So I kind of like that because, it makes more sense storyline-wise that Matt probably isn't ready to wrestle. So Randy Orton's on the mic saying that Matt Hardy's not going to be there and this match isn't going to happen. Matt comes out wearing a neck brace. Thought he got hit in the head, not the neck, but whatever. He's got this big neck brace on and, when he's, coming right down to the ring, he said he's here to fight. He can barely move. He's very, limited in his motion and gets in the ring and basically just gets in Randy Orton's face, and Randy commends him. He goes, I admire your balls because you're in here. You are a sitting duck. The things I can do to you. in your neck brace and waddle around the ring like a penguin. I can fuck you up, boy. And here you are in my face, I respect you. And he goes on to say how much he respects him, which I kind of like too, because, Matt Hardy, he's in his 40s now. He's been around a long time and he's had a great career. He's got a lot of friends and a lot of peers. And, I don't consider what they did with him really that much of a burial. And I'll explain why in a minute. So basically, Randy Orton still is claiming that he had to do this, like he did what he had to do type of thing. He loves Edge. He says he admires Edge in his career. He admires Matt Hardy in his career, but he really loves Edge, and he goes on to say he's sorry. He has remorse. He's sorry, and he just can't do this. And he walks away from Matt Hardy. Now, this is the same thing he did with Edge. So even when he's walking away, I like the twist and turn they took us on because I didn't expect it to go that way. But still, I'm like, if we think Randy Orton's going to walk all the way to the back and this match is just not going to happen and the segment's going to be over and that's going to be it, hell no. So Randy Orton, he gets all the way up to the ramp, and you can see in the background, the camera's focused on Orton. Matt Hardy in the ring, he jumps out of the ring, runs to the timekeeper's area, grabs a steel chair, gets back in the ring. At the same time that Randy Orton's kind of slowly taking off his vest. So Randy just slowly and methodically makes his way back to the ring. Matt Hardy's armed with a chair. He gets up to the ring. Matt Hardy goes to swing the chair. Orton ducks it, kind of clotheslines Matt Hardy on the top rope, gets in the ring, nails Matt with an RKO. And then we had the long, drawn-out spot where Randy Orton, it kind of looks like he's wrestling with his conscience a little bit, but he's really just teasing us along. He's being very typical Randy Orton, stalking his prey very slowly, and he gets Matt Hardy over to the steel steps. And he's basically going to deliver a concerto on the steps. And Matt Hardy's selling it brilliantly. He's kind of wearing street clothes and a leather jacket. He's laying face down on that on those stairs, just motionless, his arms limp, and it looks really good, But Randy Orton, he just can't do it, teases it, but winds up walking away. Meanwhile, he's on the verge of murder here. Where are the baby faces? I think everybody was saying that on social media. Does Matt Hardy have no friends? I understand he's leaving for AEW and everything, but surely somebody back there gives a shit on whether or not he lives or dies. So the fact that nobody came out there to help him out, I thought was a little bit ridiculous. We saw the same thing with Edge though, so nobody came out to save Edge either, which I think is even crazier because he's not technically an active, competitor. He made his return, but he's, older and potentially fragile, and we don't know how he's going to be in the ring. At least Matt Hardy's like a regular guy. So nobody came out there to help, the poor Hall of Famer getting killed, and then nobody came out to help Matt Hardy either. So that either tells you that WWE has, just no concept of common sense and what would happen in a normal situation, or they're really trying to put Randy Orton over as a scary guy to where nobody in that locker room wants to fuck with him. So I don't know which one it is there. But nobody came out to help Matt Hardy, and Randy Orton looks like he's going to, walk away. Hardy's going to survive this thing. And then, of course, he turns around, comes back, and grabs the chair very viciously. Matt Hardy's already in position on the chair. Or I think he moves him into position, on the stairs, because he had taken the stairs apart, and it's kind of like that half stare there. Matt's face is right down, and then bam, nails him really hard with the concerto, lays out Matt. The crowd shots, everybody's doing one of these things. And, it was a very good segment. I liked the segment. I liked the fan reaction. I thought everybody sold it well. Matt Hardy did a phenomenal job here. So I did see some comments on social media, and a couple of you asked me as well, is this a burial of Matt Hardy, or, is WWE doing everything they can to shit on him before he goes to AEW? I don't think so. Not really in this situation. Yeah, he got beat down and annihilated, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't humiliated. If anything, he looked brave in, standing up to Matt. It's not like he came out there fresh and Randy Orton did that to him like last week. Matt Hardy came out there, he fought until the end, neck brace and all. He could barely move. He's completely overmatched. Even if he's fresh, he's overmatched by this guy, and he still has, the nuts to get in this guy's face and take the beating that he did. And if he does wind up going to AEW, this is looking way ahead here, but if his contract is up on March 1st, he did not sign a new deal today, and he goes to AEW, and he turns out to be the exalted one, or he turns into Crazy Matt, there's a reason for that now. Randy Orton scrambled his brains with a chair. It's actually like a storyline in one company transferring over to another. In a lot of ways, that could all tie in. And I also think that WWE is going to do right by him. If he wants to leave, they're not going to, I don't think they're going to do what they're doing to the Revival, where they're kind of holding him hostage a little bit. They're making him look like buffoons on TV. Matt Hardy hasn't really been made to look like a buffoon. Yeah, he's lost a couple of matches and he's been jobbing out, but he hasn't been made to look like a fool or humiliated or anything like that. And like I said in tonight's segment, technically, he was a pretty brave guy for getting in there and standing up for what he feels is right, neck brace and all. So I don't really look at this as any more of a burial than anybody gets. Remember when John Morrison left, Miz put him out in their last match. Same thing with Moxley. And remember when Randy Orton went out? RVD left WWE. I don't remember what year this was, 08, 09, 2010, something like that. And he had a match with Randy Orton. And he took a really RKO, like landed right on the top of his head. And I think he got punted right out of the WWE. So this is kind of stuff that we see all the time. And I don't think that WWE took a shit on the legacy and the career of Matt Hardy. I actually, think they made him look a little bit brave. So I didn't consider that to be really a burial, and I didn't consider it to be any more than they ever do to somebody when they are going to be jumping ship. There's only so much you can do. Matt Hardy's a made man and a legend. It doesn't matter if he jobs a couple times on TV or not. He's still Matt Hardy. Same thing with Moxley. He was going to go into that company, no matter how many times WWE had him lose to EC3, he was going to go into AEW with a whole bunch of excitement. So it's kind of pointless to even try to bury Matt Hardy because he's going to be back. The Hardy Boys are going to go into the WWE Hall of Fame, 1,000,000%. And I think Matt Hardy would stay in the WWE right now if he felt like he could, be creatively successful there. It was great to see him have a run back home in the WWE again. Loved seeing the Hardy Boys back. They even gave the Woken Matt shit a stab. But by then, it had taken too long. It was just kind of over. And I think Matt now feels like he's got one more chance, maybe one more small contract, to go out and do something a little bit, more useful and make a little bit more of a mark on wrestling before he hangs him up for good. And by the time his contract with AEW runs its course, then he's going to be 50. Who knows? Him and Jeff can come back to the WWE, go into the Hall of Fame, the whole deal, and officially ride off into the sunset. But, he's not one of these talents that I think WWE is going to try to hinder or put obstacles in front of, even though AEW is direct competition. They'll do right by Matt. He's not a big enough name or star that's going to tip the scales in any way. So it shouldn't matter. So even though they did what they did to him tonight, I don't consider it to be an absolute burial. Let me go over here to the chat before we move on to what's next. Charlotte, Trey, Max, Chris, Ungovernable. K-Dog's Kennel, how are you, man? Good to see you. So Raw, 5 or 6 out of 10? Yeah, I'd give that. I'm with Down Ice on that one. 5 or 6 out of 10 sounds good to me. Low audience in here again. If you guys could smash that thumbs up for me, I would very much appreciate it. Just checking over here. All right, we good. So that was probably the most interesting part of Raw, wouldn't you say? Was that whole opening segment, because that was pretty good stuff. We had a couple of more interesting things, but I think that was like the most dramatic. So the first match of the night was one that was kind of cool because I didn't see it coming. It was Eric Rowan taking on Aleister Black. Did I miss something here? Did they tease this type of match? It seems like both of these guys have been having squash matches. Seems like they've been building both of them up individually. Now they're putting them head to head, and I was really worried because I'm not into this. I've never really been into Eric Rowan. Nothing against him. It's just he does nothing for me, and I don't even care at this point what's in the fucking cage. And he's out there with Aleister, who I love and I think is amazing, and I want him to become a big star. So I was nervous. I'm like, oh God, I hope this doesn't turn into one of these situations where they trade victories. But Aleister did defeat him. Rowan looked strong. Good outing for him. He took a black mass right to the face and went down only to one knee and then got hit with another one, allowing Aleister Black to get the pin there. So he put up a good fight, but in the end, the right guy won there. Don't know if that's a one-off or if that issue is going to continue, but I want to see Aleister continue to roll. I don't want him to lose anytime soon. And hopefully he'll do something meaningful at Mania other than the Battle Royal. If he's in the Battle Royal, I'd like to see him win it, but it would be cool if he could be setting up a one-on-one match with somebody. We had talked about Undertaker, but I think we took one step closer tonight to naming the Undertaker's opponent. We'll talk about that later. Nick Musser, thank you for the $1.99, man. I appreciate it. Greg, I'll induct you into the Hall of Fame. Okay, no problem. I only have one request for your induction speech, talking about how great I am. I don't want you to speak it. I want you to freestyle rap it. So if you can do that, it's all yours, man. Next up, we had a Charlotte Flair promo. Now, this is one, I got to be honest, I didn't pay much attention to. We saw her show up at TakeOver last night. If you want to see my reaction to TakeOver, it's on my channel right now. We were up here doing a live stream after the show, and after Ripley successfully defended her title against Bianca Belair, she was immediately blasted from behind by Charlotte, who jumped the barricade, beat up Rhea Ripley, and got on the mic and announced that she's officially accepting the challenge of Rhea Ripley. She was just waiting to see who the champion was going to be. So that match is now set and official for WrestleMania, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. So tonight, Charlotte just came out to cut a promo about the match, talking about her legacy and that she built NXT and all of that. So, you know, other than that, I don't really know what she said. So that match is on, but what I want to ask you guys is, like, what do you think here? You know, do you think she's going to win the title in NXT? And we talked about this last night as well. We got to get to WrestleMania and deal with all of this nonsense. And I know the general wrestling public is going to accept nothing less than a Rhea Ripley victory here. But does nobody think it would be kind of a neat concept if Charlotte went back there and won and competed in NXT just for a little while? You know, would it damage Rhea Ripley if she lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania? Charlotte became the new NXT champion, went to NXT for, I don't know, a couple of months and just, you know, worked out there a little bit and just went back home for a small run and then dropped the belt back to Rhea. Now, this is, you know, kind of like the Charlotte and Asuka situation from WrestleMania a couple of years ago when everybody flipped their shit over the loss. When if WWE just would have booked a simple rematch and, you know, kind of given Asuka the victory back and had her win the belt, it all wouldn't have mattered at all. It probably would have been a good idea to have it go that way, but they didn't do it. So, you know, if Charlotte beats Ripley and then Ripley's done, then holy shit, what the hell were they thinking? But if this turns out to be, you know, kind of a fun rivalry early on in Rhea Ripley's career that can potentially be rekindled in a couple of years on the main roster somewhere, I think it might be fun for them to trade a couple of victories now and never really have a clear winner declared between them. You know, Charlotte gets a win, Rhea gets a win, you know, maybe the blow off is a double DQ or something like that. Or maybe, you know, Ripley wins one of those last woman standing matches where she stands up at the very last second and just barely wins the program or the feud, something like that. And then year and a half from now, they're both on the same roster. They collide head to head again on Raw or SmackDown somewhere. You know, could be fun for the long term, but, you know, I don't know. I'm glad the match is official. That's for sure. I think the women's matches this year are strong. You know, they might be stronger than last year's, and last year the women main evented. So if you got Charlotte and Ripley now, and, you know, the other big women's match we'll talk about here in a second, that's going to, you know, be involved with Becky, you got some strong women's matches, and we don't even know what Bayley's going to do yet. So the women are going to be a standout at this year's WrestleMania for sure. Next up, we've got Riddick Moss. He defended the 24/7 title. I guess it was a triple threat against Mojo Rawley and R-Truth. He won the title last week. This whole thing is a mess. He retained the title, got the victory over there. I think did he pin R-Truth or he pinned Mojo? Can't remember. Anyway, Riddick Moss is still your 24/7 champion, and I think Jerry Lawler mistakenly called him Riddick Bowe at one time during the match, which I got a chuckle out of. Drew McIntyre promo up next. Actually, this is a match. Drew McIntyre was advertised to take on MVP. And I think it's so weird that he's randomly back. Now, I know he was negotiating, probably a deal has been made with him accepting a behind-the-scenes role as an agent. So the fact that he's there, I'm a big fan of MVP. I've talked about this before. I had a lot of respect for him when I just watched this one random interview where he talked about the Chris Benoit murders. And with all the nonsense that we saw in the media during that, and with every wrestler and their mother taking every opportunity they could to be on the news and to be on TV and talk about a situation that they really knew nothing about, MVP was right in the middle of a feud with Benoit around this time when all that was going on. He had a really interesting take on the situation and came off really intelligent. From that moment on, I was like, I'm glad the wrestling business has this guy, because he's like Jericho, somebody that I would want out there in interviews representing us, you know, because he's smart. So I love MVP, but I just think he's such a random. We see this sometimes with legends, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Tatanka, plenty of others that have come back to have small runs in the company, you know, maybe work behind the scenes a little bit and have a match or two occasionally. So I have nothing against that. It's just he is so random. How long was his run? How long was he in the company? 3 years or something? I mean, maybe it was much more than that, but I don't remember. I remember him around, I don't even remember when now. Fucking what, 07 through 010 or something? Or 06 through 09? Something like that. I just don't think he was around very long. So the fact that he's back is just so random to me. And he's got matches and he's doing everything. I think he should just be a backstage agent and that's it. I don't really need to see him on TV. And plus, it's going to be a squash. He's going to get fucking killed by McIntyre in this match. But McIntyre comes out first to cut a promo, sporting a new shirt. And I'm glad he's got some merch because he's a big babyface now. He's clearly being pushed strongly. But, you know, I just think all wrestling shirts look the same. They all have that same type of design. I think Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and a bunch of other guys have shirts that look exactly the way Drew McIntyre's does. So I hope it sells. Hope he makes a few bucks off of it. He even does a thing where the fans chant along to him pointing to the WrestleMania sign. He's interrupted by Paul Heyman, who comes out and talks about the match at WrestleMania and teases Brock Lesnar, even does the big introduction for Brock. And I'm like, I don't think Brock's there tonight. And he had me fooled for a second, but nobody came out. And instead, he introduced MVP, who had the match with McIntyre advertised anyway. So he came out there, had the match with Drew McIntyre, went about 5.5 seconds, and he ate a Claymore and got pinned, and that was it. So Drew continues to roll. And how long do you think it's going to take? I mean, he's a babyface, too. I'd almost prefer it if he was a heel, because I think if he was a heel, he'd have less of a chance of the fans turning on him. You know what I mean? Because if word gets out, and I hope it doesn't, I hope nobody says this, I hope none of the dirt sheets. I tell you what, if somebody wants to, you know, if somebody had an issue with Drew McIntyre or wanted to like stick it to him real good, all you have to do is tell a dirt sheet that Vince McMahon loves him. That's all you have to do. And he is dead in the water. So I hope that Vince is not in love with this guy, and I hope that that information is not found out and leaked to the wrestling news sites, because the minute that becomes public, he is fucked like a stray dog in Chinatown. And I don't want to see that happen to McIntyre. So I'm loving him. I think he's very intense. I think he handled himself well on the mic, and I liked what he was saying about Brock Lesnar. He came off better than Strowman to me as somebody that's fearless of Brock. You know, he said he's going to rip Brock's head off and kick his ass and win the title at WrestleMania, and he seems very confident. Heyman looked a little concerned. And normally, you know, his Brock opponents aren't like that. So I really like Drew's confidence. I like that he ain't sweating Brock. I like everything about him, and I think he's got a phenomenal look, and he's great. But him being a babyface scares me, because I think at some point he's going to be handed a promo that's stupid, and he's going to be handed a line like tater tots or something like that, or suffering succotash or whatever. And people are going to realize that maybe Roman wasn't the problem. It was the creative process in WWE. And the same thing I'm worried could happen to McIntyre. What are the odds on that happening to you guys? McIntyre is got an advantage because he's got the support of the smart audience, you know, because we all love Drew, and he went and did the indies, and, you know, and went to Impact and went through NXT, and he's done all the right things. So he's got the support of them, but that doesn't mean they won't turn on him. They will turn on anybody. So please, internet, do not say and do not report that Vince McMahon loves this guy, because that is going to be bad news. Chris Ludecki, good to see you, man. Thank you for the $5. Appreciate it, as always. I agree with you. All shirt designs look the same, all music sounds the same, and everyone's in-ring work looks the same. P.S. Vince loved Drew in 2009. Yes, he did. He was the chosen one. But I'm saying like this rendition, you know, because Vince has always been known for liking guys' looks. And Drew, back in 2009, he was a good-looking guy and everything, but he was not viewed as a badass. He was viewed of more of like a Shawn Michaels type of guy. Where now I feel like he's, you know, now that he's filled out and he's bigger, you know, and he's got facial hair, and, you know, he just looks meaner, you know, where he looked like a child back in 2009. So if word gets out that Vince is in love with his muscles or something, because that's what everybody thinks, you know, that's what everybody, you know, the biggest critiques and the angry wrestling fans who can't stand Roman Reigns are all like, oh, Vince is sucking his dick. You know, so that's all they can say. That's their go-to insult there. So we don't want that reputation, you know, for Drew. We don't want that to be known. So Vince, if you're in love with anybody and you're in the bathroom playing with yourself to pictures of them, please keep that shit out of the public eye and don't let us know. Because I want to see Drew succeed, and I don't want to see the fans turn on him before he even has a chance to celebrate with the title. You know what I mean? So fingers crossed for Drew that WWE will not fuck him up like they did Becky last year. Speaking of Becky, all right, Becky's promo was up next. We had some interesting shit here. So she comes out, another kind of like the Charlotte promo. I wasn't totally paying attention to what she was saying. So she was out there. She had a bag of money. She brought out a little bag of money. I thought it was KFC she was going to share with all of us. Turns out to be money. And why were there ones in there? There was some Benjamins, but there was a whole lot of Washingtons laying on the mat. So I don't remember what she said about the money. Was she offering that up, or was it a symbolic, like I'm putting my money where my mouth is? Or was she doing a Razor Ramon thing from '94, challenging the 1-2-3 Kid? Say, hey, Chico, I'll give you $12,000 if you fight me or whatever. So anyway, she's got money. She's talking about Shayna and other shit. But again, they've jumped the gun on this too, kind of like Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. You knew that once they teased that, it was going to happen. They're not going to tease it and not do it. So that meant that Rhea Ripley's match with Bianca Belair at TakeOver, is pretty much not necessary, because when, whatever happens there, they could do a DQ or a non-finish, but likely Ripley's just going to beat her. She's going to be champion going into WrestleMania. So it makes the match pointless, and it kind of spoils the outcome. And here we are in a situation again where you think Shayna showing up last week and taking a chunk out of Becky Lynch's neck, and all of that was enough to set up the WrestleMania match. But no, we've got the Elimination Chamber on the horizon. Jesus, Super Showdown, Elimination Chamber. Revolution. We got everything going on. So Elimination Chamber is coming up. They've announced the women's participants, and Shayna Baszler is one of them. She's in there with Kairi Sane, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan, and somebody else, Natalya. Oh, the entire Riott squad is in there. So that's interesting. But when you look at that field and you look at those names, there's only one person it can be. It can be the person that just started the feud with fucking Becky Lynch, and none of those other women in that match are going to win. You mean to tell me Liv Morgan's going to win and go face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania? Come on. I love my sister, but that's not happening. It ain't going to be Natalya. It sure as goddamn shit ain't going to be Sarah Logan. And Ruby, we love her. She just came back. She probably has the best chance of all of them, but it's not going to be her either. Asuka's the badass in that group, but she just got 2 shots against Becky. She's not going to get another one. So you can eliminate every woman here. You can cross them all off the list. It's going to be Shayna. The only thing cool about this match is you get Shayna Baszler and Asuka in the ring together. That's cool shit. But other than that, you know who's going to win that. So I just hope that these women take it easy on themselves. Don't go out there and kill yourself. The fans know who's going to win. It's kind of a match that you don't need to have. And I would have, to me, it would have made more sense if you put, I guess, Shayna needed to show up on Raw to say that she's on the main roster now to be added to this match, but I would have preferred it if Shayna was like just in the match or added to the match and then wins it. And then the night after Elimination Chamber, that's when she shows up and takes the bite out of Becky Lynch's neck. Because now you don't have a match in the way that makes no sense. At least if you do the neck biting thing after, it doesn't spoil the match that's upcoming. You know what I mean? So I feel like they jumped the gun on a lot of stuff. I feel like they did that with Charlotte and Ripley, but I thought it was the night after Royal Rumble, so you wanted something big to happen. But they should have waited on that, until after TakeOver. And then you should have had, that's what you should have done. Tonight's the night that Rhea Ripley should have shown up on Raw. Charlotte could have just jerked us around about who she's going to challenge. I'm not sure yet, and yada, yada, yada. And then have Ripley show up tonight right off the heels of successfully defending her title last night, and then you do the whole thing. And then later on in Elimination Chamber, you have Shayna win, and the night after the Chamber, she comes and bites Becky. That would have just flowed better, don't you think? It feels like they're taking a step ahead and then backtracking and filling in the gaps from before. I don't think creatively it's all fucked up. So I don't think the Elimination Chamber, the women's match, is that interesting because we know what's going to happen. I mean, unless they swerve the shit out of us, but why would they? It's going to be Shayna and Becky. So assuming we get on the other side of all this nonsense and it does turn out to be Shayna and Becky, which we're expecting it to, what happens there? Is this a straight match with Shayna making a statement at WrestleMania, putting down Becky Lynch after holding the title for an entire year? Or does it take twists and turns? Are we going to see Ronda Rousey's face? How can we not in this situation? I just feel like she's got unfinished business. I don't know if she's having babies or whatever her plans are, but to at least make an appearance here seems extremely likely or needed or necessary. It's WrestleMania time, So after Elimination Chamber, between then and the Royal Rumble, you could have a lot of different factors get involved in the Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch feud, and I think it has potential to be one of the better things Becky does in her entire championship run. I think it's already off to an interesting start. A lot of people were kind of split on the neck biting thing. Some thought it was cool, different. Some thought it was a little hokey. I'm a little bit in the middle. But I didn't hate it. And, who knows? It could lead to something big for Shayna Baszler. Now, she had some things to say herself. She showed up on the Tron during Becky Lynch's promo and basically explained herself. And the big line in this was at the very end when she says that she's going to tear the living shit out of Becky Lynch. They didn't bleep it or anything. She says shit right on live TV. Attitude Era is back. And when you look at the two promos, Becky, I just don't like her speaking mannerisms. I think she's just way too like, and she's all over the mic and she just talks real fast. And sometimes she runs out of breath before she's finished with the sentence. She's done that a couple of times, and she did that tonight where she had no air left in the tank, but she had like 2 more words to say. So she couldn't get it out. It was kind of funny. And she just doesn't come across as a badass that you really feel is a badass. Where Shayna Baszler, she's biting bitches' necks. And she came off just very, very more scary, I guess, scarier in the promo because it was on the Tron, just black background behind her. She's wearing her leather jacket and everything. She's talking in a very monotone, Jake Roberts type of voice. She's not yelling. She's not screaming. She's like, look, bitch, I'm going to fuck you up. And that's good. I like that. I'd rather have that promo than what Becky does and her over animated nonsense. You know what I mean? So I'm not anti Becky Shayna. I'm kind of into this. I think it has the potential to be good, and I'm going to give it a chance. And of course, we're assuming that Shayna's going to go into the chamber and win it. What's next? Oh yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let me go into the chat here and see what we got. Super chat coming in from Michael. Good to see you in here, Michael Cuomo. Thank you again for the $5. Drew McIntyre has had an independent wrestling success, so that works in Drew's case, and less likely fans turning on him. No, I said that. That's what I meant. I'm like, at least he's got that because he's got that support of the smartened up audience or the smart fans, that follow everybody and all that shit. But that does not mean that WWE can ruin anyone. That ain't going to save him. I mean, it's going to help him. It helps him a lot more than Roman because Roman's like a homegrown talent. And because he's got that bloodline, fans just automatically, instinctively think that everything's handed to him because of that and that he doesn't work hard at all. That's the big argument with Charlotte. I'm like, look, I understand that she's the Nature Boy's daughter and she's going to get opportunities because of that, but she ain't a worthless piece of shit. If she was somebody, if she was the female equivalent to fucking No Way Jose and she's been putting in the main event every time, that would be one thing, but she's really, really good and deserves her spot just for her work, and who she is. And I think it's great when legendary wrestlers have talented children. Why would you not want that? Everybody just starts getting mad about nepotism and stuff. And I'm like, I want the history of the business to carry on. I love that Charlotte goes, woo. Fans get on her for that, if you can believe that. I'm like, don't you want that? Ric Flair, is such an icon, a Mount Rushmore guy. For him to be able to, still have a presence in spirit through one of his offspring in wrestling is a good thing, not a bad one. And the fans just jump all over that. She's getting all her opportunities because of her dad. No, dipshit. She's good. You dumbass. Can't you fucking see? Open up your goddamn eyes. Anyway, that's my 5-minute Charlotte defense rant there. Anyway, we'll stay on the subject of the women because we had Kairi Sane taking on Natalya up next. Natalya got booted right in the face by Asuka a couple of weeks ago on Raw. I didn't even know that. Had a big shiner. Loving the fact that Asuka and Kairi, but Asuka especially, is coming out there and cutting a promo before every match that she has because I like the way she's screaming and we can't understand her. Most of what they both said was in English. But a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling. I always chuckle whenever the Kabukis cut a promo. This thing ended in what, a DQ? I didn't even see how the DQ happened, but Kairi, did Natty not answer maybe it was a count out. I think Kairi won via count out. That's what it was. So nothing really going on there. I barely paid attention to that match. And next up was the big Seth Rollins sermon. Seth Rollins sermon. They advertised this throughout the week. He was going to preach to all of us or something like that. So this is, again, something that I was just not in the mood for or not interested in. Seth Rollins is kind of, he brought back, he's resurrected for 2 weeks in a row now, that weird furry leather jacket. I missed it. Did he have the glove on or not? Hell, he's in my thumbnail. I should be able to see this. Did he have the one glove on? I can't tell what he's trying to pull off here. He's very Marty Scurll-ish, sort of. And I like heel Seth Rollins better than babyface Seth Rollins. And I think he's capable. I think his promos are better as a heel than they are as a babyface, for sure. But I'm still not totally into this Monday Night Messiah nonsense. I don't think, if Seth's trying to be a cult leader, I think of people like CM Punk being far better at that role. than someone like Seth Rollins. I feel like he fails to connect with the audience as a babyface. He's better as a heel, but still not that great. I liked him where he was before, as a heel, when he was part of the Authority and he was just a shit talker. Here he's trying to be like a leader where people are going to like hang on his every word, and I don't really listen to what he says. So he's spewing his nonsense on the mic. They've got podiums all set up, and he was introduced by his Monday Night Messiah teammates, the AOP and Murphy, excuse me. And he's brought out to the ring, and then he just starts, going on and on about whatever the fuck he's talking about. And that's when the War Raiders hit the ring. Their music hits. They storm the ring. Big brawl. Seth, like he's been doing, powders out, gets out of the ring, goes up to the ramp where he's met by Kevin Owens, and he eats a Stone Cold Stunner right there on the stage. So they cut backstage right after that, and Seth's walking around, and he's approached. I can't remember if Charlie approaches him or who approaches him, but he's pissed, and he proposes a 6-man tag main event with Murphy and the AOP taking on the War Raiders, or Viking Raiders, excuse me, and Kevin Owens. Where's Samoa Joe, by the way? Did they mention where he was tonight? I don't think we saw him. So that was going to be your main event. So everything, in the sermon was one of the least interesting things on the show. Seth is just not, he's just not doing it for me. You tuned out of the sermon. And a lot of people on social media, too, are kind of giving it shit. I don't want to. Oh, that's right. You guys mentioned that to me last week. But still, that makes no sense. If Seth Rollins is not wrestling, okay, he's just the black glove is to cover up the injury. I don't know why he would even need to cover it up or conceal it. But that's the thing. If he's going to start wearing that and then he's going to stop wearing it, people are going to be like, where's the glove? Joe was suspended. Did I miss something here? I didn't read any wrestling news today. I thought it was announced that Joe was not suspended, and that was all a big charade. Oh, Joe, you mean suspended maybe in kayfabe. That might be what you mean. Yeah, so the sermon was just kind of, meh. I wasn't into it. Didn't know what Seth could really say, and I don't want to shit on him too hard because I like him as a heel a lot better. I thought it was just getting really old. The babyface Seth stuff. The fans were getting on his case, and everything that was happening on social media, and just the heat that Seth Rollins was getting. The right thing to do was turning him heel. So I don't want to shit on that idea. It's just, I don't know, this Messiah shit, I'm not a fan. We've had cults in wrestling before, and this is one of the worst ones we've seen. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe you guys disagree. Maybe some of you like it. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that, and I hope it grows on me. I hope it gets better, but just the way WWE writes their storylines and books their television and everything, it just seems like this Messiah can't last forever and probably won't. And at some point, him and Murphy are going to be dropping those tag titles to someone. So the OC was up next. This was kind of interesting. Again, didn't have my full attention. But Gallows, Anderson, and AJ Styles come to the ring. AJ starts talking about WrestleMania and WrestleMania season and starts name dropping a lot of legends and basically saying he's better than them is what I think was the gist there. Now, it's been rumored, we've been talking about this all week, we talked about it last night and on Saturday, that AJ has been rumored to be the opponent for The Undertaker at this year's WrestleMania. Now, that match, actually, I like. If Undertaker's going to have a match, that's probably the best opponent you could put him with. Wish we could say the same for John Cena. We'll talk about that rumor later on. Remind me to talk about that too. John Cena's WrestleMania opponent. But in terms of The Undertaker, if he's going to wrestle for me, The Undertaker should just be retired. He should have retired after the match with Roman. But if he's going to be back, I'd rather not see a repeat of Saudi Arabia and him work with Goldberg or something. Give him somebody that can give him the best match possible. And I don't think there's a better name in the company to do that than AJ Styles. So, and plus that's a pretty legendary match, and AJ is a legend, and he's the caliber of star that should get a match with the Taker. All the greats have gotten him. AJ's like that CM Punk after he lost the title, or Randy Orton in 2005. He's like that level of character. So he should get a match with Taker. That'll be an excellent feather in the cap of AJ Styles, even in the loss. Even if he takes a loss here, who cares? You got to work with Mania and with Taker at Mania in potentially his last match at Mania. I don't know if this guy's ever going to fucking retire or if I'm going to see this guy wrestle next year in LA. Don't know. But the way AJ was throwing out those names, made me think that there is definitely some merit to that Taker rumor, and it could very well happen. And you know what? I'm fine with it because, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago the Sting thing. The only thing I would really be okay with if Taker and Sting had anything to do with each other is maybe not a match, maybe do something like The Rock and John Cena did a couple of years ago where, they beat up the Wyatt family or whatever. So maybe it's a segment where Taker's in the ring or something, or Sting is in the ring. And then heels come out to confront him, and then he's saved by The Undertaker, and the two, they do a stare down and, and they fight off the bad guys or whatever. Something like that. But if it's going to be an actual match, I think AJ's a pretty good choice. Now, they were all interrupted by Ricochet. Ricochet's got the big match coming up in a couple of weeks with Brock on the 27th in Saudi Arabia. He's out there, gets on the mic, and they jabber back and forth. This leads to a match with him and Carl Anderson, which he would win. No big surprise there. Ricochet's getting a title shot. He's going to have to have a tune-up match along the way. So he beat Anderson, and that was it. So what do you guys think? Thumbs up or thumbs down on the Undertaker and AJ Styles match at WrestleMania? Is that something you want to see? Is that something you're interested in? And could you name a better opponent for the Undertaker? The only one I was thinking that I thought would be cool in terms of Undertaker putting someone over would be Aleister Black. But with a match with AJ, I don't think this particular match really matters who wins. AJ's at the end of his career, too. It's not like either one of these guys needs the victory. This might just be a Legends match, a dream match that we never got to see that's not quite too late to have. And if it turns out to be AJ Taker, winner and loser does not matter to me. If it turns out to be Taker and Aleister, winner and loser does matter to me. You know what I mean? So I think with AJ and Taker, they're both such extreme legends, it literally does not matter who wins the match. And it won't affect either guy either way negatively, no matter what happens there. So for that reason alone, I'm into it. Undertaker versus The Fiend, I don't see it. I don't see Undertaker versus The Fiend. Oh yeah, all caps. Mr. Singh, you are yelling at me, but you're yelling in excitement. You're very happy. Ooh, you know what? It's funny Robert Johnson mentioned that. He said Cult of Rollins versus Cult of Personality. I always thought one of the cooler, and we could still get it, but I thought, based on last year when CM Punk, started showing up on WWE backstage, and there was a little bit of back and forth there with Seth Rollins, I'm like, that would be a great match. I'd actually like to see that. And maybe there's still time, because what is Seth going to do at WrestleMania? That would be a great, attraction match, but I don't think it'll happen because we've got the attraction match with Edge and Randy Orton. So to me, that would be the match to do. And if you did, it would be cool to see like maybe Seth Rollins troll CM Punk and start coming out to the ringed Cult of Personality. Might be kind of cool. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe CM Punk shows up on TV and, it's like, you suck at running Colts. I'm way better than you. I had people shave their heads for me and shit. I don't know. It could be a fun feud down the line. With Edge coming back now, I don't see Punk and Rollins for Mania. I just don't see any way possible it could happen. But that would be cool if it did, and there certainly would be a tie-in and definitely a story to tell here if it did happen. Where did I leave off? We had a Liv Morgan promo backstage talking to Charlie about her impending feud with Ruby Riott and the Elimination Chamber match. Nothing much to say there. And then that left us with the six-man tag. Set up earlier on in the show during the Seth Rollins sermon. And we've got the AOP and Murphy taking on Owens and the Viking Raiders. DQ finish here, am I right? Seth Rollins jumped in the ring at the end here and stopped Kevin Owens from pinning somebody after the stunner. There is a big beatdown of Kevin Owens and everybody by the heels. Seth Rollins is in the ring now, and basically they've got Viking Raiders out of the ring, and it's 4-on-1. They're just beating the shit out of Kevin Owens. And unlike the Matt Hardy segment from the beginning of the show, this time people actually give a shit. Street Profits hit the ring. They come out to make the save. They make the big save there. They even do a really cool spot in the end where Ivar and Montez do dueling frog splashes, but I swear to Jesus, Montez Ford got like 100 feet in the air. Did you see that? I know he can jump super high on those frog splashes, but this might have been one of the highest ones I saw. Holy shit. So hit him with that. And like always, Seth, he escapes. He gets out of there scot-free while everyone brawls. And that was pretty much the end. I think it was Murphy that took the stunner from Kevin Owens, and then Ivar and Montez hit the frog splashes on the AOP, I think. So yeah, it was an okay, main event tag, but nothing too crazy there. This whole Raw was just kind of okay. I thought it started out hot. I liked the Shayna Baszler promo. I liked the Drew McIntyre stuff for the most part. I liked that Aleister Black got a big win over Eric Rowan. I like that they are setting up the table for WrestleMania with the Charlotte Flair promo and Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler getting ready to kick things off as well. My only problem with that is, like what I talked about earlier, is they're getting ahead of themselves in their booking, and now they've already planted the seed for Shayna and Becky, but now they've got to do this match that Shayna's in that we know she's going to win, and I think that's just a stupid way to do it. So that's my only issue there. But right now on paper, I'm looking way ahead past Super Showdown and Elimination Chamber, but we're going to get what? Becky and Shayna, Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, Edge and Randy Orton. Those 4 matches right there are pretty strong. Now, the other maybes, are going to be Undertaker and AJ Styles. Pretty nice. We're going to get, what was the other one? Possibly The Fiend and Roman Reigns. I know that match isn't ideal for everyone, but a couple of things could happen there. Number one, like I predicted, The Fiend could retain, because I don't know if WWE is going to have 2 long, dark-haired, bearded guys winning world titles at the same show. So you maybe hold off on that. Or maybe The Fiend works with somebody else completely. Goldberg is wrestling at Super Showdown. He might come in and do something at WrestleMania as well. Sting might show his face. And the man who we can't see, John Cena, who apparently it's been leaked who his opponent is going to be, and I'm almost glad it's been leaked. Maybe WWE has time to listen to the fans freaking out here and change this up. This makes no sense to me. John Cena is showing up on SmackDown in a couple of weeks on the 28th. He's there seemingly to promote whatever current project he's doing, but we know he's probably going to be interrupted by somebody and it's going to kick off a WrestleMania match. So that's kind of intriguing. I'd like to see John Cena work this year's WrestleMania and maybe work against someone fun. And there's all sorts of guys that he could work with, but the rumored name to go against John Cena at WrestleMania is Elias. Now, they had the interaction last year because Cena came out and rapped, right? But isn't Elias a babyface right now on TV? Didn't he just on SmackDown this past week, form the alliance with Strowman and they kicked the shit out of Cesaro and Sammy and all that? So he's kind of a babyface right now. He's already switched back and forth to babyface so many times, I can't keep track. So they're going to bring John Cena back and then turn Elias heel again, and then he's going to go and have a WrestleMania match with him? That's so underwhelming, is it not? Jesus. That's ridiculous for him, for that match to happen, because nobody wants to see that, and they can't make up their mind with what they want to do with Elias, and I don't think a babyface match would really make any sense there. If you're going to do Elias and John Cena, Elias is going to have to go heel, and it's going to have to be the whole thing. I don't know. I'm not against Cena at WrestleMania. I would absolutely like to see him wrestle, but against Elias, that is the most underwhelming fucking announcement I've ever heard. So, sorry for Elias. I feel bad for him. It's kind of funny that the fans are like pushing back on this, because for him, that's a big match. You got to think about what his Mania paycheck is going to look like when it comes in the mail. It's probably be pretty nice. So I don't want to take that away from him or anything. It's just, it's a program and a match and a feud that nobody gives a shit about at all, and we know John Cena will win. What's he going to do? Put Elias over? I don't think so. Cena could put somebody over, and again, much like The Undertaker, it just depends on who he wrestles. I'm not automatically going to say that Cena must lose no matter who he faces. That's stupid. It depends on who he faces, because like I said earlier with The Undertaker, if he faced AJ Styles, it doesn't matter. But if he faces Aleister Black, I think it does matter who wins. And John Cena, same thing. If he works with Elias, who fucking cares if he wins? But if he works with somebody else, like maybe an Andrade or, I don't know, somebody that's, an up-and-comer, kind of new on the roster who the WWE has big plans for, maybe like an Aleister Black, then yes, absolutely, I would like to see John Cena lose in that situation, because he's now semi-retired. He's only going to be around a little while. back in the day, you could have argued for him to beat Bray Wyatt and Rusev because the fans freaked out about that too. But at least he was a full-time guy. At least he was a top guy. At least those guys were losing to a top guy. You know what I mean? Everybody's freaking out that they were buried. I'm like, they lost to like a legend. It's okay. You can lose. It's totally fine to lose to a legend. It ain't going to kill you. But now John Cena's different. He hasn't been around as much. And for him just to come in and beat somebody young would be stupid. So in that respect, I almost think that the Elias match is like, well, okay, if they're going to have Cena have a presence at Mania, at least he's not going out there and beating anybody that's going to be any different after the loss. Elias will be the same after a loss to Cena. He'll still come out there with his guitar and do his thing. So if there's one guy, one younger wrestler on the roster that could technically afford a loss to Cena, it'd probably be Elias, because he's still the same guy after the fact. The same mid-level star that they don't do anything with, that constantly changes back and forth between being a heel and a babyface. Nothing will change for him. But if you put Cena in there with somebody else, I might care a little bit more about who wins. It just depends. One thing I know for sure is I don't want anything to do with Cena and Elias at WrestleMania. That seems ridiculously underwhelming. So I'm hoping the WWE realizes this too and changes things up and goes in a different direction for WrestleMania. Maybe we should put you in there with somebody else. Who knows? And for next year, there's already talk of, The Rock and Roman Reigns. That could be the big match here in LA next year for 37. Maybe it could finally be a retirement match for The Undertaker as well. Who knows? Big things could happen next year, including for John Cena. But as far as this year goes, WrestleMania looks good on paper. So if we get some, shit-ass match involving John Cena, I guess it's no big deal because, like I said, Ripley, Charlotte, Shayna, Becky, Drew, Brock, Orton and Edge, all that's super attractive, and potentially The Undertaker and AJ Styles as well. I think that's 5 really strong matches right off the bat here that aren't really even technically official. So WrestleMania on paper, I think, might arguably look better than last year, I'd say. What do y'all think? Yay or nay? Man, look at them likes. What am I? I feel like I'm a YouTuber that's been doing this for like 3 weeks. 43 likes. Damn. Don't make me quit YouTube, y'all. Got to get my numbers up. Gabriel Palacios, thank you for the $2, dude. I appreciate it. So we're having a lethal leap year this year. Oh, that's right. Lethal leap year. Are they going to do that with the Southpaw? That's right. No, I think lethal leap year is Revolution. Isn't that on the 29th? Coming up in a couple of Saturdays. I originally thought I was going to miss Revolution. I thought there was something going on at work that I wasn't going to be able to get out of. That's not looking like it's the case anymore. So I think I'm going to be here for Revolution after all. And I'll be watching it, and we'll do a big live review after the show, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And I got to figure out, I still have no clue about Super Showdown yet. If I have the schedule that I think I'm going to have, I'll probably come up here in the afternoon and do a short live stream, a brief recap of the show before I head off for work. I just got to remember to make sure I'm up in time and awake to watch that shit and make my notes. So likely I'll be up here, but depending on what's going on with work and stuff, not 100% sure on that. But I'll keep you guys in the loop. Don't worry. I think that's pretty much it for my notes and my Raw review. Got nothing else to really talk about here. We've been going about an hour here, so I should get out of here and make some dinner. But if there's any other questions you want to throw at me, you're welcome to. Otherwise, let me think. What's my schedule going on this week? What can you guys expect from me? As of right now, I don't have any plans other than the Winged Eagle this Saturday to come up here. Yeah, it's a busy week for me. So you might not see me until Saturday. I hope you guys will be all right. But you've seen me a lot. I was up this past Saturday. I was up last night. Now I'm up tonight. So it's a whole lot of me. And then also in March, I think right when we get to the end of February, maybe on the other side of Elimination Chamber, that's probably what I'm going to wait for, is for Chamber to come and go. And I need to look up the date on that, actually. But after that happens, I will probably come up and do a few Monday Night Raw live reactions. Bring those back for the build to WrestleMania. That might be fun. Elimination Chamber. Sunday, March 8th. Okay. Yeah, so that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So maybe March 9th. That'll be the first one. Right after the Elimination Chamber, I'll do a live Raw watch-along. Just like I used to back in the day. But I'll tell you what, man, if my audience is this low when I do those watch-alongs, I don't know how long that's going to last. Because, I used to have anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 to 500 people in these chats. And those numbers are just not the same. And I don't know what the fuck's going on with YouTube. I'm a little worried. Anyway, WrestleMania season will always be fun. We always have a ton of fun on this channel. So I've got videos coming up. I got this day in history, or like early template in my mind, like this day in history, classic review, Q&A, April Fools, all sorts of shit that I did last year. And then WrestleMania weekend, probably a whole lot of streaming, following TakeOver, following Hall of Fame, and shit like that. And of course, WrestleMania, and it's still up in the air what I even do for WrestleMania. If I even try to do a live reaction or not, probably not. I don't want to risk that. I don't want to risk, the sound being on too long or getting some bogus copyright claim for reacting to Mania. So I'll probably just do a review instead to be safe there. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now for WrestleMania and WrestleMania season. So anyway, I think I'm going to get out of here. I'm hungry, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Vape Lord Yoda. Greg, I think that doing live reactions more often, especially with bigger pay-per-views, would help your channel grow. It used to. The whole reason I stopped doing those is because, the subscribers just stopped. Something happened. I think there was the YouTube algorithm and stuff. And plus when they've recently done, they've overdone the layout differently, which I'm finally now getting used to, the streaming and stuff. I was still doing it the old school way. So it's even harder for me now. I never like new layouts on any website whenever, there's a new format or a new update. I'm like, son of a bitch. So I've been really resisting this one because some of the YouTube channels that I like to watch, I'm not seeing their stuff as easily anymore on my page. So I can only imagine what that's happening for listeners of mine. Usually if you go onto YouTube, or not even your suggestions, just, your homepage, you can see all sorts of possible videos from some of your favorite subscribers that you like. Oh, cool. There's GoodMicWork's new video. I'll just click on that right there. And I'm noticing it's harder for me to find, not even find stuff, just stuff that pops out at me that I know I'd want to watch anyway. Instead, I got to think of it and go look for it and see if there's a new video up, shit like that. So I know things are a little different in YouTube right now. I think that's affecting everybody. But yeah, like my numbers have just drastically dropped, probably by about 60% since the summertime, or since the end of the summer. So basically through the fall up until right now is when I started noticing this stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what's going on. I think I got a pretty good channel here. Got a sharp looking channel. Look how good I look. Look at Matt Hardy. You looking at you guys. Look at my belts in the background, my bald head. I think everything looks pretty good here. You guys can see and hear me, right? We talk about good stuff. We're all smart. How come we don't have millions of subscribers? It's bullshit. But anyway, not sure what's going on there. So we'll try some things this WrestleMania season. This will be a good test to, see if we can figure out ways to get more subscribers in and all of that. Because I definitely think I'm putting out enough content. I'm up here all the time doing stuff. So yeah, we'll see. WrestleMania season will be fun. I'll definitely come up and do some live reactions to Monday Night Raw. We'll see how those go. And, if we can incorporate anything else on the channel. If you guys ever have any suggestions, hit me with it. So anyway, have a good rest of your Monday night. Take care. I think I'm going to check out, I still haven't watched any of the Ruthless Aggression docuseries, and I think the first episode was last night. Never watched it. So might check out that tonight and see what that was all about. The only clip I saw of this, before I sign off here, the only clip I saw was from Twitter last night. Apparently in the documentary, they try to make it sound like the name change from WWF to WWE was completely Vince McMahon's idea. Like they wanted to do it. No, they were forced to do it, and it sucked. And it still bothers me that, it wasn't WWF. It's not WWF anymore. And the only thing that they told the truth on that is that they did do a spectacular job of making that transition. I didn't think I was going to be able to stop saying WWF. My whole life, it was WWF, 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 and it took a few years. I think I was even into doing commentaries on YouTube, and I was still saying WWF a lot. But over the past several years, I think I've finally gotten on the other side, and I'm now fully trained to say WWE. And WWE is a household name. Everybody knows WWE, those three initials together, are only 18 years old, but the entire world knows when you say WWE, you mean wrestling. So they did do a really good job of marketing that to the point, they talked about the Get the F Out campaign that they did all those years ago. But that was all done kind of by force, with the Wildlife Fund and everything going on there. They kind of had to do that. But they made it sound like it was all their idea. So there might be some revisionist history on that docuseries. We'll see. For the most part in those, they tell mostly the truth. they're still going to spin it in their, WWE favor. But overall, those things are usually relatively accurate. So I'll be interested to take a look at it tonight and see what it's like. Oh, 2 episodes are out now. For real? Nice. Damn, Diet Water. I saw your comment. You say, your channel has done nothing. I'm like, thanks a lot. And then you say, but get better. Okay. Phew. Yes, bald white guy equals ratings, right? I think that's been proven. Those 2 wrestling companies in the 90s, they both had guys that looked kind of like me. I mean, Austin and Goldberg, if they worked out a little bit more, they could look like me. But they did great ratings on those 2 companies. So you would think it would stand to logic that this YouTube channel should do the same. Who knows? Go figure. Anyway, I'm out of here. I got shit to do. You guys have a great rest of your night. I will talk to you potentially this week. If not, I'll see you on Saturday afternoon, for the Winged Eagle podcast. Y'all be good. Peace.